Moscow is preparing a decisive strike. The plan is to seize two regions and completely cut Ukraine off from the Black Sea. But Ukraine is not sitting idly by. A next-generation strike drone has entered service. And this could be a turning point. Why could the year 26 be the end of the war? Everything points to an impending collapse within Russia itself. We will show the truth about what is happening at the front. Details, figures, and footage right now.
No pause and no de-escalation. In 2026, Russia plans to seize two regions and cut Ukraine off from the Black Sea. Moscow is preparing a large-scale occupation of eastern Ukraine and the buffer zone at the borders, despite signals of negotiations. Also, despite diplomatic efforts, including Donald Trump's attempts to persuade the Kremlin to come to the negotiating table, Russia continues to pursue aggressive plans to expand the occupied territories of Ukraine. This was reported by a politician citing Ukrainian officials in Washington. According to the statement by the deputy head of the Office of the President of Ukraine, Pavlo Paliza, the Kremlin expects to establish full control over the Donetsk and Luhansk regions as early as this fall. The next stage is the creation of a buffer zone along Ukraine's northern border by the end of 2025. Russia's plans do not end there. In 2026, Moscow may attempt to seize territory east of the Dnipro, including the Odessa and Mykolaiv regions, which would deprive Ukraine of access to the sea. This would deal a blow to Ukrainian grain exports and logistics as a whole. Such ambitions are also confirmed by Western analysts. In their view, Russia will accelerate its offensive in the summer to increase pressure on the armed forces of Ukraine and their allies. However, maintaining such a pace until 2026 will be extremely difficult due to losses and overstretched resources. Meanwhile, NATO countries' intelligence services do not observe any signs that the Kremlin is abandoning its two key war objectives: subjugating Ukraine and revising the European security system established after the Cold War. Thus, instead of de-escalation, the Kremlin is planning a new phase of the war. At the same time, the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine has adopted the strike drone General Chereshnya AER into service. This is a new generation multi-purpose system. The Ministry of Defense has officially codified and authorized for use in the defense forces a new domestically produced unmanned aerial system called General Chereshnya AER. This was reported by the main directorate for the support of the life cycle of armaments and military equipment. So what can this drone do? It is a multi-purpose strike UAV capable of engaging a wide range of targets both on the ground and in the air. It is distinguished by its high flight speed and the ability to operate at altitudes inaccessible to most enemy drones. The drone can also boast high strike accuracy. Overall, the system is equipped with both daytime and thermal imaging cameras, featuring an automatic target detection and recognition system, which allows it to carry out strikes manually, semi-automatically, or autonomously. As for mobility and deployment, the system can be set up in a matter of minutes, which is especially important for mobile operations on the front line. This makes it an effective tool for rapid counterattacks and precision strikes on targets. The introduction of such UAVs expands the drone capabilities of the armed forces of Ukraine and strengthens their ability to engage highly maneuverable and well-protected enemy targets. And many experts believe that the year 2026 could mark the end of the war. Experts have commented on the role of internal collapse within the Russian Federation. The end of the war may come as early as 2026, not because of agreements or a turning point at the front, but as a result of internal collapse within Russia itself. The conflict has entered a war of attrition phase, where victory will go not to the one who advances, but to the one who can endure the longest. The economic situation in Russia continues to deteriorate. The central bank acknowledges a recession, inflation is rising, and the prices of essential goods are hitting record highs. Amid shortages of even basic products like potatoes, Moscow is already being forced to seek emergency supplies from neighboring countries. Sanctions pressure, mobilization, and the depletion of military infrastructure are leading to a growing systemic crisis. At a certain point, continuing the war may become impossible, and then the conflict will end not through negotiation but through an internal admission of defeat by the Kremlin. The year 2026 is seen as a potential turning point when internal crisis may force Russia to halt its aggression, even if fighting on the front lines continues. That's all for today. Tune in tomorrow for more news.
Russian occupiers are trying at any cost to get closer to the positions of the defense forces in the Pokrovsk direction. Previously, the Russians used motorcycles, but now they have launched assaults on electric scooters. Ukrainian soldiers note that drone operators still turned out to be faster. As a result, the enemy personnel were eliminated and their vehicles were turned into scrap metal.
The movement of the occupiers had already begun, but it didn't last long. Somewhere after lunch, we had already finished everything, but usually they don't stand a chance. To be continued.
The Pokrovsk direction remains the hottest spot. Since the beginning of the day, Ukrainian soldiers have repelled 42 unsuccessful attempts by Russian occupiers to break through the defense forces' positions on this section of the front. It is precisely on this part of the front that the Russians are suffering colossal losses.
Regarding losses, it is worth noting, for example, the losses of the so-called 15th Peacekeeping Brigade of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation. This is military unit 9600 with its permanent base in the village of Roshinsky, Samara region. It should be noted that during the fighting, specifically in the Pokrovsk direction, this brigade has already replaced its personnel for the third time, meaning the losses are enormous.
The enemy continues to suffer losses in the Kharkiv region as well. Ukrainian soldiers have destroyed heavy and automotive equipment of the Russian occupiers in this section of the front, as well as their personnel. The fighters note that both FPV drone operators and machine gunners are demonstrating precision work.
Here is the howitzer itself, here is the ammunition, and here is where the crew lives. First we hit the howitzer. While I'm hitting the howitzer, Lima is working on the house. First destroy the howitzer, then the crew that ran into the house, and if necessary will finish off the ammunition as well. This machine gun is used to engage enemy personnel and lightly armored vehicles. It operates at ranges of 1, 400, 1, 600 and 1, 800 meters. By using a certain type of ammunition, it can engage light armored vehicles, some could say it can destroy almost any of them. The UAV operators demonstrated an aerial drone duel. The soldiers note that the pilot demonstrated his skill by manually taking down yet another enemy Mavic.
This is not just a small drone at the occupiers' eyes. It adjusts artillery fire, and it's a potential threat to Ukrainian defenders. Every Russian drone shot down means one less set of enemy eyes and one more life saved for our guys. From a statement by the 1st Presidential Brigade of the National Guard of Ukraine on Facebook,
UAV operator units continue to operate along the entire front line, destroying enemy personnel and equipment that the enemy throws into so-called meat assaults, particularly in the Toretsk and Novopavlivka directions, where Ukrainian soldiers repelled 13 Russian attacks each.
This is our landing.
In the Kursk region, Ukrainian soldiers are not only managing to repel the enemy, but are also carrying out assault operations. As a result, dugouts, communication trenches, and Russian army firing points were destroyed. The fighters note that the Russians continue their assaults in this direction. Since the beginning of the day, the Ukrainian armed forces have repelled 7 Russian attacks in the Kursk region.
Their plans are clear to create a buffer zone in the Kursk region. We can see that they are making advances there. And they would also like to capture the entire Donetsk region. So these are the kinds of plans being set. First, you said that there is a huge gap between plans and reality.
Ukrainian drone operators destroyed a Russian drone warehouse, 2 artillery positions, bunkers, and the telecommunications tower in the Kursk region, as well as eliminated enemy personnel and blew up a shelter with troops inside. The border guard soldiers reported on their brilliant work.
Sensational news. Ukraine will receive maritime armor worth 400 million. The Netherlands is providing extremely powerful weaponry. This is a serious blow to the Kremlin's maritime ambitions. Ships, boats, drones and more. This is no longer just assistance, this is preparation for total control over the sea. What else will Kyiv receive? Details coming up right now.
The Netherlands is strengthening the Ukrainian fleet with ships and drones. This was announced by the country's defense minister Ruben Brekelmans at a meeting of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group in the Ramstein format. The military package is valued at 400 million euros. It includes 100 vessels, 50 maritime drones, weapon systems, sensors and spare parts. Brekelmans is quoted by the Dutch Ministry of Defense portal.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
This is an important package of measures to strengthen Ukraine's maritime security. We see that the Russian threat in the Black Sea and the Dnipro, among other places, is only increasing. The port of Odessa and the trade routes passing through the Black Sea are considered a lifeline for the Ukrainian economy. Without proper protection, it could collapse. We simply cannot allow that to happen. After the full-scale invasion, partners such as Finland, Estonia, Britain and Norway have been providing significant assistance to the Ukrainian Navy. In March of the previous year, the Dutch Ministry of Defense also supported this branch of the Ukrainian armed forces. The vessels mentioned in the new package are small boats that can be quickly delivered to the country by land. Ukraine has an enormous coastline, 85% of which is controlled by the occupier. From the Danube Delta to the Dnipro, there are a huge number of important maritime and river infrastructure facilities. In addition, the country must ensure the security of the trade route in the Black Sea.
As a rule, these are boats ranging from 10 to 25 meters in length. They can have such a superstructure, autonomy of up to 3 days, and small crews. These boats can be equipped with small arms such as machine guns, grenade launchers, and possibly manpads, mine detectors and neutralizers, and anti-sabotage stations. They are small, but we need them very much. This includes patrol, transport, interception, and special operations forces boats. They can be used during operations in the Kherson region on rivers. There are no restrictions here. They conduct reconnaissance and surveillance. Secondly, they can respond directly to sabotage threats and mine threats.
50 maritime drones are also part of the military aid from the Netherlands. The partners are not disclosing exactly what this entails.
The Netherlands is actively developing drones that deal with hydrology, meaning they can see underwater. This is very useful both for hydrographic surveys of the seabed and the sea itself. And this is very important for mine countermeasures and the creation of anti-ship drones. At the very least, I think that these 50 drones in question will be used to survey the maritime area and address the mine threat that may be present there.
In addition, the Dutch Ministry of Defense reports that 20 million euros will be invested in the regional maritime training center where Marines are trained. This package includes weapons, ammunition, as well as uniforms. Analysts believe that this assistance from partners is one of the practical steps in implementing the recently adopted new Black Sea strategy. The EU plans to strengthen its geopolitical role in the Black Sea region.